one.
Rapid TV, my name is Korero.
Hello, Rapid TV. My name is William Suchemba.
My name is Choma Chukuka.
Hello, Rapid TV. My name is Stan Nze.
Hello, Rapid TV. My name is Vivian Glam Gabriel.
Hello, Rapid TV. My name is Jide Kene.
Hi, Rapid TV. My name is Steve Chooks.
Best Afrobeat song will go to The Bunch and Snoop Dogg, Oliver Twist.
Piece of my heart, Whiskey.
Right now, will probably Be Grateful by Fino.
My favorite Afrobeat song is Afrobeat.
I can't. There's so much.
It has to be one of our Rasta songs.
I love a lot of them. I don't think I have a favorite Afrobeat song right now. I cannot pick. I can't, Papa.
Living in Bondage.
It has to be between Blood Sisters and Lionhearts.
I don't have favorite anything. I have favorite food. I have favorite colors. I barely have favorite any other thing.
Oh my God. Living in Bondage. The first one. I'm not a child.
Right now, a ghetto love story.
Okay, my favorite Nigerian dish would be
Panga stew with rice.
Come on now. Okwa.
Pounded yam and egusi soup.
Beans and plantain.
Is oha soup. Fufu and oha soup. Thank you.
Bread and akara.
bitter leaf soup with catfish and snail and fufu. Proper Santana. Apple.
Nekedu keke ime. Idi shone edemma. Idi kwoi. Ilalo ofuma tata. Iteta iligo kwenni. Eman ndi gina afọ. You nwike me things. You understand? Okay.
Good morning and welcome to Rapid TV's continuously evolving social, political, and general interest show we call Korero. Of course, I'm your regular host, and Kamian John, the beloved, also known as the controversial. Now, like I promised yesterday, we are today going to discuss the Rivers State crisis. Yes. Because President Bola Tinubu Wednesday swore in Vice Admiral Ibok Ete Ibas, retired, as sole administrator of Rivers State in a ceremony at the State House in Abuja, the nation's capital, with key officials in attendance, including the Chief of Army Staff, Femi Gbajabiamila, and the Attorney General, Lateef Fagbemi. The swearing-in ceremony followed Tinubu's declaration of a state of emergency in the state of Rivers on Tuesday, which also saw the suspension of Governor Similaye Fubara and his deputy Ngozi Odu, and also members of the State House of Assembly for 6 months. Now, Tinubu cited prolonged political instability, security threats, and constitutional breaches as the reasons for the emergency declaration. The crisis in Rivers State had been fueled by a power struggle between Governor Fubara and his predecessor, Nyesom Wike, current Minister of the FCT, who, with this move, Ibas, a former Chief of Naval Staff, is tasked with overseeing the state of affairs until normalcy returns. President Tinubu emphasized that the judicial arm of Rivers State would remain unaffected by the emergency declaration, which is set to last for an initial period of 6 months. A governor suspended, a state of emergency declared. Again, first it was Plateau in the year 2004, then Ekiti in 2006, and now Rivers in 2025. So the question is this a governance solution or a political pattern? What do you think? So, as always, the show is live and interactive, so you get the opportunity to share your thoughts on that question. On today's edition of Rapid TV's continuously evolving social, political, and general interest show, we will be discussing constitutionality or unconstitutionality with regards to the dissolution of democratic structures in Rivers State, and as we also examine the constitutional powers of the president, of course, with regards to the current state of affairs in Rivers, because there are suggestions that with the kind of political debacles that are going on in states like Osun, even in Lagos, are we going to see further declarations of states of emergency? Well, as always, the show is live and interactive on all social media platforms. And as I said earlier, you can take advantage of trying to prefer solutions to some of the questions or most of the questions that today's edition of the show will ask. It's time for us to ponder as a people, with a hope that we could come up with a lasting solution to current events. Okay? Remember, we are at Official Rapid TV. That's our handle on all social media platforms. And our WhatsApp portal is live and interactive as well. Don't forget the number to use when if you choose to engage our WhatsApp platform is 0916-771-6035. The number is on the screen, and you can send your comments, reactions, and contributions to the show. Now, following President Tinubu's declaration of a state of emergency in Rivers State on Tuesday, which also saw the suspension of Governor Similaye Fubara and his deputy Ngozi Odu and all members of the State House of Assembly for 6 months, many have looked to the National Assembly with high expectations to see what position the legislature would take in the matter. Of course, about a day ago, a highly respected senior senator in the person of Senator Abaribe did suggest during a television interview that Mr. President's state of emergency has to be cleared by the Senate and then, of course, the National Assembly. But to the surprise of many Nigerians, the Nigerian Senate deferred a motion to approve the proclamation of a state of emergency in Rivers State until its next legislative session. Now, the motion, sponsored by Senate leader Okweyemi Bamidele, was initially set to be debated and voted on in the morning, but was unexpectedly delayed until 3 p.m. with no explanation for the holdup. Now, the motion highlighted concerns over the escalating tensions and violence in the state, including militant threats and incidents of pipeline vandalization, and called for urgent measures to restore peace and good governance. The Senate's approval of the emergency declaration requires a 2/3 majority, or 73 out of the 109 senators. Okay? Now, that's how it went down as far as the red chambers is concerned. In the green chambers, the House of Representatives wrapped up Wednesday's plenary without discussing the state of emergency declared in Rivers State by President Bola Tinubu. Many had expected the emergency rule to be part of Wednesday's deliberations, but the lawmakers concluded the session without addressing it. However, before plenary began, two female members of the House, Blessing Amadi and Maria Ebikake, engaged in a heated argument over the declaration, which briefly disrupted proceedings before the Deputy Speaker, Benjamin Kalu, took charge of the chambers. Let's see how that happened yesterday on the floor of the Green Chambers.
Say what? Oh, chicken.
All right. If you just tuned in, this is Rapid TV's continuously evolving social, political, and general interest show, Korero. And of course, that was part of the argument that went down on the floor of the Green Chambers prior to the start of plenary yesterday. Of course, the conversation about the declared state of emergency in Rivers State eventually was not deliberated. So we're still watching developments as far as the National Assembly is concerned. Anyway, following President Tinubu's declaration of a state of emergency on Tuesday in response to the prolonged political crisis in Rivers State, the proclamation made under Section 305 of the 1999 Constitution is intended to restore order and governance amidst escalating tension in the oil-rich South-South state. Well, we will be discussing the constitutionality or unconstitutionality behind the dissolution of democratic structures. Because in the past, we've seen it happen where states of emergencies have been declared, but governors were not suspended, state house of assemblies were not suspended. So what makes this one different? And the only way to be able to have this conversation is to look at what the Constitution says. And of course, as you know, I am a student of the law, and from time to time, we like to, test the law, particularly as it relates to the Constitution. But most importantly, we also want to examine the constitutional powers of the president, because the arguments since Tuesday has been the fact that Mr. President seems to have arrogated to himself powers that the Constitution did not assign to him. Even though yesterday, the the Attorney General of the Federation did come out to justify Mr. President's actions. Anyway, just to remind you, the show is live and interactive on all our social media platforms. And as always, my advocacy is that you become part of our growing online community simply by following and liking Rapid TV on all our social media platforms. And don't forget, our YouTube channel is up now, so you can follow, like, and subscribe as well. And the WhatsApp portal is available 24/7 for you to engage us. Be part of the conversations. Let's hear your contributions. Who knows? You just might have the solution that might turn things around. Now, moving ahead, the Nigerian Bar Association, NBA, has criticized President Bola Tinubu's declaration of a state of emergency in Rivers State, calling it unconstitutional and a potential threat to Nigeria's democracy. In a statement released on Tuesday, the NBA argued that the president has no constitutional authority to remove an elected governor, deputy governor, or state lawmakers under emergency rule. Now, the association emphasized that the Constitution clearly outlines procedures for the removal of these officials and that the political crisis in Rivers State does not meet the constitutional threshold for such extraordinary measures. The NBA also pointed out that the state of emergency requires National Assembly approval within a set time frame which has not been adhered to. The NBA warned that suspending elected officials under the guise of emergency rules sets a dangerous precedent that could be misused to unseat elected governments in the future. The association called on the National Assembly to reject the unconstitutional removal of the Rivers State governor and other officials, stressing the need to protect Nigeria's democracy and uphold the Constitution. The NBA reaffirmed its commitment to defending democratic governance and urging all stakeholders to monitor the situation closely, stating that any attempt to legitimize the removal of these officials will undermine the nation's democratic principles. We're able to get a sneak peek into that conference and meeting of the NBA, and this is how it went down,
Democratically elected officials or to suspend democratic institutions of state, but to enable the president to govern the state manner to take emergency measures to meet the situation that has warranted the declaration. That is why I said, in one of the sections, said that section 305, that the House of Assembly can pass a resolution calling on the president. It is not a self-suicide on the declaration of state of emergency which allowed for suspension of the Premier and the House. That is not the wording of the 1999 Constitution. It is different from the Republican Constitution. And that is why we believe that the President's declaration is unconstitutional as an overreach. Because the danger, saying that pipelines were bought and the governor could not condemn them or bring the situation under control, is that all it is an outbreak of violence in the state, and the president will sit in Abuja and remove the governor. And that portends great danger in appeal to an.
All right, so there you saw it. And joining me to critically discuss this issue of constitutionality or unconstitutionality behind the dissolution or declaration of a state of emergency, and of course the dissolution of democratic structures in River State under emergency rule, is a friend of the house. You could say he has become our in-house legal mind. He is a legal practitioner, Ahmed Osigwe Momo. Ahmed, it's great to have you on the show this morning.
Thank you so much.
I know this is a hot time for lawyers of repute like yourself, but the legal luminaries seem to be a bit divided on this matter with regards to the declaration of emergency, the provisions of the Constitution, especially with regards to the dissolution of democratic structures in Rivers State. But let's look at Section 305, power to proclaim a state of emergency. Now, Section 305 says, 1, the President may by proclamation declare a state of emergency in any part of Nigeria or in the whole of Nigeria if A, the Federation is at war, which we're not, B, the Federation is in imminent danger of invasion or involvement in a state of war, or C, there is an actual breakdown of public order and public safety in the Federation or any part of it to such an extent as to being unable to effectively function as a government. Or D, there is a failure to comply with an obligation imposed on the Federation by this Constitution or any other law which is required to be performed. 2, the President shall notify the National Assembly of any such proclamation made under subsection 1 within 48 hours, and the National Assembly shall, as soon as possible, meet to consider the proclamation. 3, if during the state of emergency the President deems it necessary, the President may, underline the word may, by proclamation suspend the governor, deputy governor, or any other official in the state government where the state of emergency is declared. 4, a proclamation issued by the President under this section shall cease to have effect. A, if it is revoked by the President before the expiration of the period specified therein, or B, if the National Assembly does not approve it within a period of 2 months from the date of the declaration. 5, the National Assembly may, underline again the word may, make laws for the maintenance of peace and order in any area affected by a state of emergency. So, Ahmed, it's interesting. Where in Section 305 of the 1999 Constitution as amended does it say that a state of emergency means that the President can sack or remove an elected governor, the deputy governor, and all members of the National Assembly?
You know, we're in an interesting time. Yeah, we're in an interesting time, and everything that is happening now is a precedent. And this president, our president, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, had the option of looking at the Jonathan's presidents or President
Olusegun
Obasanjo's presidents, and he chose the later instead of, depending on how you see it, or the former, because Obasanjo came before Jonathan in that regards. And I think it's a solemn time for the country. It's a time that we need to seriously consider everything happening. There are a lot of this is what breaks my heart probably more. There are a lot of very sound lawyers who are making contrary position. And I'll start with the Attorney General of the Federation.
He's exactly.
An exceedingly smart gentleman, take it from me. He's not one of those AGFs that is there because of politics. No right-thinking man will say he doesn't deserve to be the Attorney General of this country. He's an inspiring gentleman. His work speaks volume. Many of us have idolized him from our early university days. His fine arguments left, right, and center, and coming now here to appear as though I need to choose my words because it's difficult to lash out at people you have full respect for.
for.
But I would just advise these fathers to respect the fact that there are people who respect them and their name, and it matters more. There's a certain level you should get to, and you shouldn't look at the exigencies. Some things may be uncomfortable, like you know, speak it out. Now, my quarrel with this particular action is, what happens to Section 308? This is something we're not considering. Are you saying that the president can suspend, if the governor says, no, you can't suspend me, I'm not going anywhere, what will happen? Can he be arrested?
In fact, that question was going to come, because as of the closing stages of yesterday, news broke out that a state high court in Port Harcourt, as of yesterday, had granted an order preventing the sole administrator from resuming his duties in Rivers State pending the determination of a substantive suit. The suit was filed by Honorable Edson Ogaranya, former chief of staff to the immediate past governor, and Edson argued.
Immediate past governor, you mean who? No, Wiki or Fubara?
Fubara.
It's not the immediate, it's the governor.
Well, yes. How do we, that's the confusion that has been.
There's no confusion. There's no confusion. The Constitution has spelled out exactly, you know, the means and the mode of taking out a governor, and until and unless it's complied with, he's the governor. He's not an ex-governor. The president cannot sack him. So we choose our words clearly and carefully. He's not the ex-governor, for crying out loud. He's the substantive governor of Rivers State. So says my constitution and my conscience. And the people want to bury their conscience because they're trying to bully us into silence. This is absurd. My question is, what happens to Section 308? This is a question that the federal government cannot answer. Are you saying that he can be arrested? Assuming without considering that, you know, Governor Fubara decides to shoot somebody in the street of Rivers State, can you arrest him? You can't. The Constitution is clear. Until and unless you take him out in line with the Constitution. Taking him out in line with the Constitution does not, you cannot by proclamation say, is no, their means, their National Assembly must seek to take don't have both houses.
But how do you react to the fact that both houses went silent yesterday? They acted as if
in other words,
it never happened.
Very well. If the houses are in session or plenary, then 2 days, if not 10 days, it's clear. Now, at best 10 days, until and unless that has happened. That's the point. Until it has happened, before you can now come back and say, "Oh no, this action has been sealed," and it's not fair. And this is not the means. There's no breakdown of law and order yet.
But the presidency, in their reaction, seems to suggest that there was breakdown of law and order as a result of the pipelines that were vandalized.
So that's funny. One pipeline burst is a breakdown of law and order. Are you trying to freeze my brain? Are you saying that the Nigerian army cannot? Is the governor in charge of the army? Is the governor in charge of the police? What is he in charge of? Was it his duty to instruct the commanding officer there to do his own job? Are there people who took over a facility that the governor is supporting? It's not as if there are some people who are barricaded or militants who have covered a particular area. We have areas in Nigeria where we have people hoisting foreign flags, and they have not declared state of emergency. And President Bola Ahmed Tinubu wants to oppress the entire Nigeria. For what? I'm impressed, exceedingly impressed with Governor Wike. I like what he's doing in Abuja. He's perhaps the best system minister, but I won't silence my admiration for his work and now say this idiocy makes sense. It's an idiotic act that they're trying to do. We will suffer it. These people on their way out who are here. The next generations are coming up. And so we must be very careful. Like I said to the Attorney General of the country, you need to think about the children you are growing up. Next thing, somebody will orchestrate a crisis in another state, and then it will be a reason to say there was a crisis. One singular bomb blast cannot meet the sniff test. It's impossible. If you give me a group of people who are armed and they are fighting, who say, oh, there's a crisis you can't control. What's the crisis? Did the commissioner of police say he cannot take care of it? Have there been any investigation? Have anybody come to say, I'm the one that did it, come and arrest me, and this hasn't happened? What are you saying? This seems to be orchestrated. There's a desperate means to sack. This is not how. I'm not even saying that Governor Fubara's action were not wrong. There are some things he has done that I think that if you want to impeach him, please do it with the Constitution. My fear is that we must protect the sanctity of our Constitution because there are other people out there. There are other people out there. The moment these people see that you don't respect the Constitution, they have eyes.
You have created.
I'm talking of the military.
You basically made room for
them.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly the carrots. We must follow it to the letter. And the same president opposed this in other president Obasanjo. Bola Ahmed Tinubu said it is unconstitutional and is a threat to democracy. And I dare say, sir, you are now the threat to the democracy using your own speech against you. That's what you said against even the decent president, Goodluck
Jonathan,
who decided that under the state of emergency does not necessarily mean a governor should be sacked. Why can't we be decent? Why? I mean, let's be honest. All things being equal, it's obvious that Fubara was going to be impeached. Let's not blind our eyes. 27 against 4. How are you going to do it?
Regardless of the fact that even the 27 were, at the time, supposedly illegal, even though they claimed they didn't defect, but evidence showed they did defect.
No, I mean,
there was a substantive court case to determine their position with regards to whether they defected or not defected.
No, I think, they sued their counter opposition, but the Constitution, in my opinion, is also clear. It says when there's a division in a party, you can defect. Why are we blinding our eyes from that? You see, I don't know how to support A and leave B. I'm not a politician. I'm not hungry to eat. I'm just sticking to the laws I see in my Constitution. Can anybody say the PDP wasn't divided? The fact that
was it the PDP in Rivers State or the PDP as a party generally?
The fact of the matter is the PDP, it is easy to always, that loophole, it's something that is difficult for anybody to argue. It now becomes almost the observation of the courts. Because to say my party was divided, that's why I left, is very easy. And they say once there's a division in the party, you can leave. That's what the Constitution says. Once there's a division, so long there was no division in the party, it's for you to say there was obviously a division in the party. If there was no division, what am I leaving for? Look ahead, this person says here, and these things can be easily manipulated. And so it now becomes a matter of facts, not law. And when it becomes a matter of fact, you can't really shout to the top of your voice that this is what happened, because the facts tend to differ depending on the evidence used to support the facts. So when it comes to facts, it's the evidence. But when it's law, it's white and black. So let's stick with it. Do you get my point? So that is now a matter of fact. Whether their defection was valid is a matter of fact, which is arguable. And they have argued that it's not for one reason or another. In short, they have said they have not really defected. Is him that say defected? No, I did not defect again. Is it your defect? It's my own. Me, I say I'm not defect. Is it you? Do you understand? I'm not insisting that I'm in APC. I say no, I'm still here. You not say you. Do you understand? So anyhow you look at it, these are those issues that are sad, and so I'm not really sticking for it. In any case, I won't believe that 4 people can be the State House of Assembly. I think it was irresponsible, exceedingly irresponsible for Governor Fubara to assume that 4 people can pass a budget for a state. I think it's offensive to the principle of our Constitution. And I must stick to that and say, I'm not your fan, Sha. I'm not a fan
when it comes to this.
Yes, I'm not a fan of either of these parties. I'm just a fan of the Constitution and the laws of our country. That's where I'm standing. So it's not about left or right. Let us follow the Constitution and the laws. That's what it is.
Right. Conversely, the Constitution states that the removal of governors are spelled out. The procedures are carefully spelled out.
Yes, sir.
As far as the Constitution is concerned. Removal through state of emergency is clearly not in the Constitution.
Very well.
Hence, isn't the suspension of a governor, as in the case of Fubara and his deputy, very alien to our Constitution?
A lot of these have become cultures that we must be careful to, cultures are cultivated. And it's very important that we cultivate the proper culture. We must cultivate the understanding that the president is not the king. You are a servant.
Exactly.
Do you understand?
And that was where I'm going, because we're running a presidential style of government, not even parliamentary.
Yes.
So, being a presidential, there are stipulated rules by the Constitution. We're seeing almost a similar scenario play out in the United States of America, where a Donald Trump is virtually trying to get his way by using executive orders.
Yeah.
And just recently, a high court had told him, look, you can't fire people. There are certain things you can and cannot do based on the American Constitution. Now, we see Trump, we hear he's looking at the possibility of how to fire judges because he's seeing the judiciary as an obstacle in him achieving what he wants to achieve. So let's come back home. We are running a presidential system. Is there the likelihood that we're borrowing what we're seeing from one of the oldest democracies in the world?
No, I don't think so. I don't think it's like that. In any case, most of what President Trump is trying to do is to sack the executive. Everybody in the executive is actually, the power is with the president if you're in the federal executive, and you are acting in the behest of the president. And so I am doing my job. You can't force me to do people to work for me. It is my job. I don't need your services, and I think that we should understand it, because there have been a cabal or some executive that must be there. No. Do we have two tiers? I mean, we just have three: the federal, executive, legislative, and the judiciary.
Yeah.
And the executive power resides with one person, which the entire people vote for, the president. So that's how it is. So in this case, you can say, hey, I don't want you to work. It's quite different. Now there's states. Now in the states, the executive power resides with the governor. Now you're co-equals. You're not it's not like
you're not a higher.
You get what I mean? You're co-equals fairly. So in short, the entire governors are the president of their state, so to speak. They will have one head in the nation, the federation. And, there ought to be the cordiality that runs around them. And I understand that, well, maybe the state is descending into anarchy, and I expect that the president ought to have employed and exhausted every means of resolution. I don't know
Did
how
he do that?
Well,
from your standpoint?
I think he tried. I think probably the governor of Rivers State, Governor Fubara, was being very heady. I don't know all the facts, but from what I hear, I think the president tried initially to broker peace. But my point is, regardless of how it turns, we must follow the Constitution. We must follow it. One pipeline busting cannot be. If you read the section 305, the subsection is quite clear. A breakdown of law and order is not one action. It's a breakdown of law and order when people are killed in mass numbers. Life is more important than your pipeline. Yes, in Nigeria, life is more important. There are states in Nigeria whereby people couldn't even pass through for months. People had to travel with military and police convoy and still pray and fast. And some give arms to travel. Do you understand? That's when you're talking of a state of emergency. Not necessarily that one pipeline got blown and it's not as if a particular group in that area says, if you come here, we will stop you. That's not what happened. There was no breakdown of law and order. Nothing has warranted this. This threshold is so low, it's so tiny, that anybody can use it tomorrow. That's why it's scary. And President Bola Ahmed Tinubu must respect his reputation and not be drawn into this pig fight, as it were. Leave them. Focus on this country, regardless of how it is. There are people who feel like, okay, maybe your economic policies were so harsh. There are people starving. People are angry. Managers don't kind of pour petrol to the fire. Don't give people reasons to get more angry. Managers.
But let's go back to the first question I asked when we started this show.
Very well, sir.
Is this a governance solution or a political pattern?
I think it's a political pattern. I don't think this was the solution. I don't think it will be the solution. To suspend both parties. Somehow it seems fair, like, okay, both of you are fighting, House of Assembly, good seats, governor, good seat. It seems fair on the face of it. But the fear is that this threshold is so low that it can be used. The president is so ugly that any other person tomorrow, maybe 20 years from now, when Mr. President may not be active in politics if he's still with us on earth. Do you get 20 years from now, that kind of a thing can come and bite people and say it happened here because of this. It's so low. Somebody can actually, a wicked terrorist can go blow a bomb somewhere with the singular aim of getting out the governor and work. I'm just saying that we shouldn't give room for all these kind of things. It's not worth it. We need to understand that the power of the governor is sacrosanct, is powerful. It's not something that you can just, pluck it out of him easily. The entire state supposedly voted for him, and he was sworn in. And until and unless he's removed, there are several ways to remove him. There are several options. It's not as if they have said, oh, this man is infirm, is not thinking well, therefore, the cabinet members move. That's a possibility. The Constitution told us. The way around this is not proper. It's scary, to be honest, because you are reducing the bar. Again, I'm saying it. This bar is so reduced now. It has never been reduced this bad, in my opinion and estimation. And especially since we have driven away from the anarchical means of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, whom President Olusegun Obasanjo, who our current president publicly fought and opposed, and made many of us support him, saw him as the face of freedom, as a defender of democracy, only for you, while in my lifetime to come and do the same thing you oppose. Do you think I have amnesia, sir? Do you respect your own words? Do you respect your person? You fought against this thing. I've not forgotten. Nigerians may suffer from political amnesia, but not all Nigerians. What's wrong with our press? I expect this to be everywhere in the public. Tell us exactly what President Tinubu said when this was done. How did it become unconstitutional? How did it now suddenly become constitutional when it came to your turn? At least tender some apology to those who you opposed before and say, oh, I didn't know it like this, now it's like this. You can't just come and take an action and not go back to your words, your own words. Words matter. A man of a certain age, your word must matter. This is your word you put out there. You were opposed to this all through. And to see that you're now for this.
You're now towing that same line.
The 360-degree switch is unbecoming. And I don't think that we should support that. And I think he needs to remove his hand from that, whatever meddling. Insist, just become a father. He should be the father of the nation. And this is not a part. There is, disaffection growing up in that part of the community.
Let's go back to the subject of the fact that, of that suit filed by Honorable Edison Ogaranya, because Justice Danagogo, in his wisdom, granted the prayer of the former chief of staff. But
you said the question is, where was it filed? Is it in the River State High Court?
High Court.
I fear that may not be the right court for this question.
Okay.
Yes. Basically, this question should be straight to the Supreme Court between the River State government
and the federal government.
Straight, directly to that's where we should go. I don't know why any other route is not necessary, not even the Federal High Court. Go straight and ask this question. Let the court interpret this, and let us get an answer for it. Let us, sanitize our democracy.
But would you blame an Edison for going to a River State High Court, considering the aftermath of the Supreme Court judgment, which many have pointed to as the catalyst for what has happened in River State?
Well, many, I had Professor Onikalu, whom I also respect exceedingly, also had a contrary opinion that the judgment may have, triggered this. I don't fault the judgment. I'm not one of those people that believe no, because like I said, defection is it's just a difficult thing. I personally don't even believe that a politician, first of all, my belief is this, and I don't sell my belief because of somebody's face. This is my, opinion, strong as it is. I don't think that it even aligns with our constitution, or if there is no inconsistency in our entire laws to say that the man who came out was voted on what he advanced, he elected to come into that party. You get, of course, he was sponsored. Then the moment you get to the house, you say, no, I'm not interested, I want to go to another party. All of a sudden, he should particularly lose that seat. No, let's be honest, as much as people voted for his party, he was the one who was a flag bearer of it. So I don't necessarily believe that a politician or a representative should lose a seat upon defection. I don't think so. I know that it happened severally, and some people were, a bit wary and all that, trying to buy, but I don't necessarily think so. But I understand the reason for it. The reason for it is so as not to turn the country into a one-party state, as it was almost happening with the again, we must drive back to President Olusegun Obasanjo, who was the father of many of our constitutional crises that we're suffering now. The man had 8 years to set this country straight. He almost drove us back. Thank God for President Yaradua, and further by President President Goodluck Jonathan, who seemed to have balanced us. Then we got to President Buhari again, who decided that, you know, laws don't really mean much to him, and almost started reversing everything of the 12 years of both Yaradua and Goodluck Jonathan. So giving you this background, I feel like, furthermore, I expect our president now to drive us to, you know, a sane climate. The reason for it is that at that time, some governors, some presidents seem to have people always defecting to the majority governor's party, where there seem to be executive, because executive finally are the ones to dispense or disburse this fund. So the money is always with the governor or with the president. So lawmakers tend to, you know, dance towards that part. To prevent this one-party state from happening, it made sense to say, if you come into this party, you should leave. But I also think that, you know, that's actually very stringent. The right of a person to say, my party is no longer representing what I want. Sometimes some of these parties can be draconian, make a policy to say, this is what our party, it's not a party matter. I remember in the third-term agenda of President President Olusegun Obasanjo, many senators were publicly saying, I align with my party, as if it is your party that will decide for your electorate. They were not saying, I align with my constituents, I align with my people back home, I'm aligning with my party. And that kind of mentality of, I stick with my party, is offensive to our constitution. It's not your party, sir. It's your people that matter, the people who voted for you. They are not your party members. They are actually your constituents. And if your constituents feel like your party's, you know, policy or action is against their own interest, I don't see any reason why a politician should not affect. But that's a story for another day. Our laws are clear. But there's a loophole, which is when there's division in the party. And I think that loophole is something that almost every politician can, you know, use to his advantage one way or another. So I can't blame the Supreme Court.
Is our constitution ambiguous?
Well, there seem to be, like I've raised the question again. If you can suspend a governor, what happens to Section 308? Can you suspend it? How will you suspend it? That means you will arrest the governor, you will restrain the governor, you will...
But we've seen it happen.
In Anambra State?
Yes.
Yes, of course. And that's why it didn't work. That's the point exactly. You can't. That's why it didn't work. Of course, it was the same era of President Olusegun Obasanjo. Like I said, that drove us a lot of this anarchical means of democracy that we still have relics of, that we must wash ourselves from. We need to wash ourselves to a time where the political climate is cultured. You know, there's a semblance of normalcy. I think if President Bola Ahmed Tinubu would do anything, remembering his roots from Nedeko, remembering his roots as a low governor in AD, and how he was able to mobilize the opposition against, he should now, as much as possible, try. If the one thing you will give us is a decent political climate, please do that. Just do that. I just remember you. At least win on something. Because you're not winning in the economy right now. Good as your policies seem to be on paper, people are the hunger rate is exceeding. It's terrible. So just do something. Give us a stable political climate. Respect the rule of law. Something that people can hold on and say, oh, under your tenure, we got this. It's not the whimsical, you know, dictatorial action of sacking or suspending a governor.
So, with this matter now, is the legislature, do they have the magic wand, so to say, to turn this entire scenario around?
Yes, they do. Yes, they do. But I fear that, you know, 2/3 is a good number, both houses, and I definitely can do this. And I don't know if they have the political will.
But with what ensued yesterday on the floor of the Green Chamber, doesn't that give Nigerians hope that it may not be a full sweep, it may not just be a stroll in the park for the executive with regard... Nigerians generally have come to the conclusion that the current, the 10th Assembly is just an appendage of the executive because they've not seen the legislature really you know, scrutinize policies, especially that have put Nigerians in the current economic situation.
Absolutely.
You know, so Nigerians are very doubtful about the legislature. But with what we saw yesterday, that argument, it gives some insight that the House may be divided as far as the House of Reps is concerned. For the Senate, we're still watching their body language to really determine what is going on. The only person that has given some kind of insight is a senior senator in the person of Abaribe, Senator Abaribe, who said the Senate has to approve this. So invariably, for political watchers like myself, we believe that this period that the National Assembly has chosen to be silent and say, look, till their next legislative session, will allow for the executive to seriously lobby to justify this declaration of state of emergency.
Yes, absolutely. I think there's going to be a lot of lobbying. I think there's going to be a lot of politicking. I don't think they will have the numbers in both houses, and they need both. And thank God for that very stringent, position out there. I don't think they will have the numbers, and I'm hoping that the Senate, would stand with the, with the laws, not with the people, and they stand with the Constitution, defend it, and that's what I'm really hoping, because it's going to be a bad precedent. Again, I'm bothered about the precedents, not necessarily because I'm a fan of A or B. I'm bothered about the precedents. I think this threshold is just too low for it to even stand. It can't pass any sniff test. I'm imploring all parties to try the judicial option. I believe the best answer will come from the judiciary, obviously.
So go straight to the Supreme Court.
Oh, absolutely.
Can a public petition signed by Nigerians across, we're talking well over 200 million Nigerians, sign a public petition that says, no, we don't believe our constitution, called for this?
Are you asking for a referendum? Well, because at the end of the day, it's not necessary, because we have already voted for people to do that in the National Assembly, and that's what it is. Except we are saying, no, we don't trust them. And if you don't trust them, you will recall them. You get what I mean? Yes, you will recall. I've always clamored for recalling. I think 1 or 2 people should be recalled, even though I don't like what's happening in Kogi State, because I'm kind of, mildly sympathetic. But I think that power to recall by constituent is what must happen a lot, so that these people will know that you are not there indefinitely. You are there to do a particular thing. If you are not doing it, you can be called back home, and that's quite shameful in your history to be recalled. So the point is, we have elected people because we all can't do this. We are busy. None of us can read and understand this process. You have been equipped to understand the laws, to make the laws, to check out the facts, and we have delegated our rights and duties to you, and you're supposed to be in Abuja in the green or red chambers to do this for us, and that's what we hope, that our legislators will do the proper thing.
Well, to wrap up today's edition of Rapid TV's continuously evolving social, political, and general interest show, Korero, the questions, so many questions, are begging for answers. But for me, the question that is really begging for an answer right now is, who advised President Tinubu to take this course of action? How could the president willingly walk into what some of us see as a raging inferno with his eyes wide open? Does the president realize that the Niger Delta crisis twice pushed this great nation almost into recession, particularly under President Muhammadu Buhari? Has he been informed that at one point, Nigeria's oil production collapsed to below 400,000 barrels per day, down from 2.5 million barrels per day? That catastrophic drop in production was a direct result of political mismanagement and conflict in the Niger Delta. It took years of painstaking efforts and immense risk to stabilize the region, stop sabotage of oil infrastructure, and of course restore some level of production. If that situation, as we see it, escalates, we risk another shutdown of vital oil production facilities. We risk renewed pipeline sabotage, illegal oil bunkering, and of course, militant activities. We risk another economic nosedive at a time where Nigeria and Nigerians cannot afford it. We can't afford it. So the global oil market is unforgiving. Investors do not wait for internal political conflicts to be resolved. They simply take their capital elsewhere. this is not just about Rivers State. It is about Nigeria and Nigeria's and the survival, economic survival of Nigerians. A state of emergency is not a strategy. In fact, it's an admission of failure. Now, there are far more effective and far less destructive ways to handle this situation. This move reinforces the familiarization or infantilization of civil governance and reduces democracy to something that must be periodically rescued by the men in fatigues. And that is what my guest has talked about. It is, in his words, it's scary. This might just open that window for Nigeria to go back to the dark days. Interestingly, in May 2023, President Tinubu himself, as my guest highlighted, condemned the declaration of a state of emergency in Borno, Yobe, and Adamawa as a dangerous assault on democracy and a ploy, underline the word ploy, to rig the then 2015 election. Or, the question now is, does the rules of democracy shift when the emperor changes robes? This question sums it up for today's edition of Rapid TV's continuously evolving social, political, and general interest show, Korero. Special thanks to my guest.
Thank you so much, and thank you for being always a clamor, a voice for the truths in this country. We appreciate you, sir.
We do our best. We do our best. Of course, as the fourth estate of the realm, the responsibility bears on us to walk the fine line of always bringing the truth to the fore. So, special thanks to you as always for allowing us be a part of your morning. I did promise you that eventually when Korero jumps into this conversation, we would come at it from a slightly different angle and conversation. And we hope you enjoyed the conversation. Remember, we are live and interactive, so even when the show goes off the air, the conversation continues online. We would like to see your reactions and comments as we continue to observe all that is happening in Rivers State and across Nigeria. So, till we come your way again with another incisive edition of Korero, remember, I am Nkamian John the Beloved, also known as the Controversial, signing out.